15th of December, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos.
Is Lou on? I don't see anybody.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Roy. Good morning, Barry. Good morning, Lou. How's everyone today?
Baruch Hashem.
Okay. All right. Good morning to everyone. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here. And Yeshiva Samanafshi here in Shalom Zoom. This is our first year. We're proceeding on with our shir in Pierke Avos. Let me put the. You should have a new document that was sent out. I sent out last night. Going further with the Maimar of Rabbi Yishmael. Fine. Anyone like to do some reading?
I would.
Okay, thank you, Lou. Go ahead if you like.
I'm a little hoarse, so if it's difficult, I might have to take a break.
All right, so Barry and Roy could take over for you if necessary, and even I if necessary.
Okay. Rebbe,
Don't strain your voice. If it's going to be a strain, don't strain your voice.
yeah, I'll tell you if it is.
Yeah, sure.
Rabbi Yishmael Omer Hayu Kal Lerosh Venuach Letish Choros Vahayu Mikabel Es Kol Ha'adam B'Simcha. Rabbi Yishmael says one should be subservient to the leader and patient with youth.
Right now this word tishchoros, there's different. We have different understandings on this word. They're extreme. Some say it's to those who are young, and some other Meforshim say it's those who are elderly or worthy of respect. So we'll see. There's two different ways of understanding what this word means.
Right. And should receive all people with happiness.
Right.
Vayu mikabel es kol ha'adam, and should receive all people. Midalo tanan es kol adam. That it shouldn't teach all men.
The fact that it didn't say call Adam there's a point that has to be made here, with a hay or without a hay. If take a look at the word clearly, and you'll see there's a difference as to whether or not it's a hay or not. I just noticed that this document I put on the screen is not the correct document, but go ahead. Everyone has what they have there in front of them, hopefully, and where you can view it on your own email. Let me try in the meantime to get the proper document. But go. Will you see what it says there? It's kol ha'adam with a hay.
Since it didn't say kol adam without the hay.
Without exactly. That's the point we want to focus in on here. Whether it has the hay or whether it doesn't have the hay.
Right. Ella es kol ha'adam, but rather it said kol ha'adam yesh lefarshu kamo shefarsheti sheparashti behayu mikabel es kol ha'adam bisavar panim yafos.
Thank you.
Okay, so since it said kol ha'adam, there is to explain that it's like the explanation, my explanation, that he should receive every person with a smiling face.
Right, a pleasant countenance, right, a smiling face.
A pleasant countenance. So, so what's he saying here? He's saying since it has the hey, it means that we should greet each person with a smiling face, as opposed to what?
Oh.
What if it didn't have the hey? What would it mean then?
So what we're gonna see. So let me explain. Again, it says Havi Mikabel Kol Es Kol Ha'adam with the hey, right? Besimcha. Now, Midelo Tanan Es Kol Adam. From the fact that it did not teach us Kol Adam. Kol Adam means every person, right? Kol Adam means every person, right? Ella Es Kol Ha'adam. It says that you should mikabel the whole person, right? Besimcha, not every person, but kol ha'adam, the whole of the person you should receive with simcha.
Oh,
Not each and every person. Each and every person would mean es kol adam. Es kol adam, that's each and every person. Es kol adam, right, is the whole of the person. I mean, everybody, as you know, as anyone who's gone through a little bit of experience in life, they know that every person that they meet has different characteristics that make up their personality. Some are more pleasant to deal with, some are less pleasant to deal with, right? Some are more friendly, some are less friendly, some are more generous, some are less generous. Go through any aspect of human endeavor and activity, and you'll find there's a wide range of people's personality traits and their reactions to different things based on their personality traits. That's the Rambam. Rambam puts he classifies the discussion of midos, which are the personality traits of a person. He puts that in Hilchos Deis. So the Gedolei Mefarshim ask, why is the Rambam putting his discussion of midos, character development, character traits, in the section where he is dealing with deis. Deis means basically viewpoints, attitudes, philosophies. So there's basically one of the primary standard answers is that the deis of a person, they will, to a great degree, mold a person's attitudes and his outlook on life, his philosophies. Right? So therefore, the Rambam chose to put the discussion of midos in where he discusses those things which have to do with the proper Torah attitudes and philosophies. So kol adam, you have to he's being taught here, you have to receive each person, the whole person, besimcha, meaning all aspects of their personality, all aspects of their behavior. You should receive the person fully and wholeheartedly. And now he says, there is to explain this, kamosha parashti b'havi mikabel as kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafes. And there is to explain this as kamosha parashti, as I explained in the other mimer, that's in Perik Aleph, Mishnah Tezvav, when it says there, mikabel es kol ha'adam, again, kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafes. Yeah.
I have a question on.
Yeah, go ahead, Barry. What's the question?
My question is this: that I just was reading in Tehillim in several places. I could look it up if you want, but everyone's aware of it. That David HaMelech in many places talks about the Rishayim and how you give them no quarter and you don't trust them and you have to get rid of them and all that. So I'm just assuming that basically what it is if a person is not an outright Russia, someone who is denying Hashem and or falsifying what he does, etc. If they're not a Russia, then everyone else is worthy of our kindness and our respect.
Well, at least in terms of these, you have two statements over here. That, well, again, we'll get to that eventually, but now what you're asking is, if we were learning, first of all, if you were learning Havi Makabel as call Adam, each and every person besimcha, so then you would have to give a definition of what's Adam in terms of understanding what David Melech is talking about, how your attitude should be towards those people who are considered to be Rishoyim, right?
Right.
So now at this point, go ahead, Barry. What do you want to say?
I'm just saying, if we're learning that you have to take the whole person into consideration, and you have to cut them some slack, so to speak, and you have to overlook, and you have to realize that some people have handicaps, and you have to be nice to everybody. Basically, is what it's saying, and be respectful and kind and etc. Because if they're not a Russia, then they automatically fall into the area of that you have to be nice and kind,
Right,
and respect them, even if they're hard to get along with. I mean, there's everybody has their situations where as I don't know, an example, if someone in shul is very disruptive, or someone is even disrespectful to the Rav,
right.
etc. So he's not a Russia, so you can't hate him, you can't dismiss him. You have to give him some slack,
Yeah,
and
look,
try and understand what is bringing this person to be so whatever, annoying or disruptive or
right. So, I mean, look, I think we all understand very clearly if a person has a physical handicap, let's say, think of any physical handicap you imagine. That's no reason why we should not be kind to them. And in fact, it's a greater reason why we should be kind to them, because they need more help than most people, right?
right.
So we understand that by physical handicaps. So we certainly can apply that to the people have certain social deficits, right? They have, and just like a person can have a social deficit, they just don't have the experience, or they don't have the sensitivity to act properly in certain social situations. That doesn't mean that we should scorn them or label them, as you said, as a Russia, but because they have a deficit. People sometimes have a spiritual deficit as well. Right? They have a spiritual deficit. So that doesn't mean we have to scorn them and not trying to help them. Rather, the opposite is true. The more that the person has a need for help, that's the more we should be obligated to go out and help them.
Right.
Excuse me, there's another interpretation that I like when it says Kol Adam, all the varieties of people. There are people who have different attitudes, different priorities. You have Hasidim, you have Misnagdim, you have Litvaks, you have Ungarisha. We should respect all of them, which unfortunately is not so popular nowadays. Everybody says my way is the right way or the highway, and I don't agree with that. That's based on this statement. We should respect, as you just said, everybody's attitude. Avad, if somebody has a deficit, that's your deal with it. Everybody knows that. If somebody has a deficit, we have to be kind. What about somebody who doesn't agree with us? So should we be nice to them and listen to their opinion and say, well, that's your opinion, but I have a different opinion. So that's what I would like to emphasize.
Yeah, definitely so.
Right, exactly. Good. Yeah, exactly. You have to cut people slack.
Good. That's right. Very good, very good. I mean, as long as it's not going to be detrimental or harmful in some way, and even if they're going to be harmful or detrimental in some way, you have to find out, is it malicious? Is it simply because of negligence or ignorance? So, and you have to be a wise person to try and, as we're saying here, if you're going with it has to be a reference to everybody. So you have to be wise enough to be able to interact with all these different people in positive ways that are going to lead to positive outcomes and positive results.
To me, is
Is it-
Tinok Shanishba, is that still a proper attitude? Because nowadays there's so many people who do not have any background in what's going on. In fact, I have a son living in Buffalo, New York, where there are 2,000 Jewish kids in the University of Buffalo, and he invites them for Shabbos and Mekarev. He's so amazed how little these young American kids going to college know about being Jewish. So it's a Tinok Shanishba, it's very prevalent.
Right. And even and if you see them doing one of these 2,000, you see them doing something that's chas v'shalom Mechol Shabbos or something, you have to cut them some slack. You can't hold them up
That's
to
right.
the same standard as some rebellious yeshiva bacher,
Right.
right?
Right.
You
Okay.
have to do it.
Look, you never know from where a person's going to start. Like, person might be Mechal Shabbos now, but if you treat him with the right attitude, he can wind up in yeshiva and sometimes in a very short time and turn out to be a very fine Ben Torah. He can even start a family on the right track. Never know.
And
That's right. You
if
can't
they
be
don't even know
miyayish
what
on
Shabbos
anybody.
is, chaval, but many of them don't even know what Shabbos is. They never saw it. Okay.
Sure. That's right. That's right. That's right. Very true. Very true. Okay. Look, we have to pray for them. Because Baruch who definitely wants all of the Jewish people, and sometimes those who are farthest away sometimes have the most potential to make the greatest strides, make the greatest progress. If a person's at the bottom of Mount Everest, so he's got a long way to climb. But if a person's midway up, so he doesn't have that much climb. He was already at the summit of Mount Everest. He hasn't accomplished anything, right? So it's all, and it's what Hashem wants. And Hashem's putting obviously a generation of millions of Jews that are so far and innocently ignorant of the Torah and mitzvahs that it's a big job to try and let them know what they need to know to bring them around.
But there's also a problem of children. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invite unlearned people into your home, but you also run the risk that that people might not dress properly, as an example. And so you have to be, you if you have impressionable teenage girls in your home, you have to be careful who you're inviting, because they somebody could show up very unsneous. So you have to, there are problems you have to be careful about.
Okay.
It's not so push it just to invite.
No, that's you have to do. You have to do it with chachma, with wisdom and forethought, and you have to do it in a way that's going to be safe for everybody. Okay, let's now. So this was the Hon Ha'isher that he explained that we should take a look what he said about being makabel. Let's call out him B'Sefer Pani Yafis. So that's in the Pierke Avos, previously in Perek Aleph, Mr. Tezvav. So that's the next paragraph. That's what he writes in. That's what he referenced us to take a look at over here.
Vahayu mikabel es kol ha'adam. Kol adam lo tiknei kide kitane. So without the hay, it didn't teach. V'al tehei vaz l'chol adam. And what is vaz?
Shouldn't be insolent to anybody.
Influence?
Insolent.
Insolent.
From buzz is to mevazit. To mevazit somebody is to disgrace them, to belittle them.
Embarrassed.
So it's not that you should disgrace every person.
No, you should not disgrace anybody. You never disgrace anybody.
Never disgrace anybody. Ella kol hadam, rather all the man. Shet sarich likabel kol hadam, that you're required to receive all people. B'sever panim yafos.
Well, no. That's the whole point we're trying to make here. There's this very big difference between kol adam without a hay and kol ha'adam with the hay.
All
Right?
of the person, not
Right.
all people, but all of that one person.
Right. Meaning, and as he says, when it says there in the other letter, it says va'al tehi buzz l'kol adam. That's without the hay, which means to teach you should not disgrace anybody. Nobody in the world should ever disgrace. Okay? Right? Nobody. L'kol adam. That means to any and everybody. But when it says kol ha'adam, it's not referring to everybody. It's referring to the whole person, to the entity of what the person really is. All his behaviors, or his idiosyncrasies, all his strange philosophies, or whatever he may have, right? Whatever he may be, you have to, in this case, mikabel him, you have to receive him with a friendly face.
Velo mikatsu dahayinu lehis nifu. What's lehis nifu?
That's from the word chanifa. Chanifa is flattery. That's the flattery. If you're gonna be smiling at a person, greeting a person, right? You simply want to flatter him, right? You don't mean it sincerely, right? I mean, basically saying that when you receive a person, you should receive him friendly with sincerity.
And you should not flatter him.
Right. I mean, what's the whole point of flattery?
You're disingenuous. You're saying something to endear yourself to the person.
Right. I mean, you have some ulterior motive for doing it. I mean, you really wouldn't do it. Right? You don't mean it sincerely. You don't really feel friendly toward this person. Like, I don't. Just to use an example, a politician shaking hands, he's giving out dimes or whatever he's doing. And he's got a big smile on his face, right? But if you ask him, why are you smiling at all these people? If he's honest, what would he tell you, Barry?
He would. You're talking about Rockefeller, who handed out the dimes?
Any politician. I don't know. He's the only one that did it, I guess. Huh?
He's only using them.
Specific names of people.
What's that?
We don't need to mention names of people.
Why not? It's a famous story. It's not Lashon Hora. Rockefeller was known to hand out.
All right, let me
Bibles.
put it to you this way, Barry. I am offended by it. I'm insulted by it. It ruins my day when you talk about people. Just say the principle without talking about the person, okay?
But
I don't want to
sometimes
know about Rockefeller.
sometimes the lesson is because it is Rockefeller to tell a story about
Okay,
an
well, if
average
you want to
person.
teach a lesson, Barry, teach it to your students. I'm not your student. I learned my lessons from the rabbi.
Well, you're going to have to get used to it because I don't think you're correct.
All right, okay, in
So
any event, anyway, it's, I think it's known, but we don't gain or lose anything if we mention the names or not at this point, for this particular instance. So.
Right, we don't gain or lose anything. It's I'm not saying it out of hate or trying to harm his family. It's a famous historical story.
Okay, let's just get back to the point. So when a politician is going to, if you ask a politician, why is he smiling at all these people, right?
Because he's using them.
Well, he wants their votes. He wants them to. That's right. If he's an honest personality, if he's an honest person, why is he smiling at all these people? Because he wants their votes, right?
Right.
And and since most people know that, but you can't say he's doing it in a wholehearted way, in a sincere way. Okay, he's sincere about trying to get their votes. That's for sure, right? So when you're going to have a situation when you have to relate to a person, right? So sometimes you may not feel that this is a big lesson we learned from the brothers of Yosef. Rashi says, right, that they felt so bad about Yosef they weren't able to greet him with shalom rather than lie and give him shalom, right? They didn't want to do that because they weren't on that level of wanting to have shalom with Yosef. So rather than lie,
Wait, I'm having problems with this Lashon Hora about the sons of Yaakov.
in any event, I mean, Rashi explains it clearly. You take a look at the Rashi there in Parshas Vayeshev, that from their Genus, we learn out their Shvach, right? That from their disgrace, that they were unfortunately in a situation where they were not friendly enough to Yosef. We learn out their Shvach. We learned something that we could praise them for because they didn't want to be insincere. So at least they weren't willing to be insincere in their relationship with Yosef. So that's what we're being taught over here. Let's take a look again. Velo miksaso, right? Velo miksaso, right? You have to makabel kol ha'adam b'sever panim. You have to accept the whole of the person happily with a friendly countenance. Velo miksaso, not partially. Tainu lachanifo, and that is to flatter him in some way. Why?
Vishalo yiyah b'sever panim yafos, that you should not have a pleasant demeanor imo with him, ki im b'maksasu,
The miksaso, only partially.
So you should not have a good countenance only partially.
Right, meaning you're showing him a friendly face, right? But it's really not a sincere friendly face, right? So you're only partial. Your whole heart is not in showing him a friendly face.
Right. So I go to a party, and in comes a guy that, I have some serious reservations about him, but he's not a Russia. He's just somebody that he rubs me the wrong way in some ways.
Right.
So how do I apply this principle? I should try to greet him happily and with a smile on my face, but I don't want to be partially. So how do I do that?
Right, so you have to think, you have to work on yourself and try and understand it. Look, we may have our differences. He may have a difficult personality to deal with, right? But still, he's a Tzelem Elokim. He's a fellow Yid, right? He has probably a lot of good things I don't even know about, right? And so what's wrong if I give him a good, friendly, wholehearted greeting, right? We're not saying you have to become his best friend overnight, at least, but at least for that firm moment when you first meet, you should be able to put your differences aside and greet each other properly, sincerely. It may not be easy. What do you do? You're asking maybe, what do you do if you can't do this? You're just not, you ignore him.
Excuse me.
I would say probably not. Let's put it this way. This is like litkatchila. Litkatchila, you should do it this way, right? But if you can't, let's say for some reason, there are reasons that you just can't really wholeheartedly, sincerely give this good fellow a proper smile and greeting. But you should still go. I would say you should still go ahead and do it, because it's like litkatchila and b'diavad, meaning even if it's insincere, it's better than nothing, right? You may find you may be giving him an insincere greeting and smile, and maybe he'll return with a little unexpected friendliness to you, and then you'll get over your difficulties with dealing with him, right? So I would say it's like litkatchila and b'diavad. Litkatchila, you should do this. Always greet a person wholeheartedly, sincerely, and with a friendly face and a smile and a happy word to say about him, that you're happy to see him. And if you can't do it, still say, I'm happy to see you, because it's part of the being roidev shalom, right? Being roidev shalom. It's sort of like a person, he's a guest at somebody's house, right? He's a guest at somebody's house, but so you served some food that you don't particularly enjoy so much, right? So what should you do? Should you refuse it? Should you take it? And if you take it, what should you say about it? It's sort of like the Maklokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, Ketzid Marachtin Lifnei Akala. How are you supposed to behave when you're being Samech Chasen V'Kala? Meaning, let's say that there's just the Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses this point. The person marries somebody who according to all opinions, she's not a very attractive woman. She's not a very attractive woman. That's what it is. But this man married her. So what are you supposed to say? So Zamaklokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai says, you sort of tell him something which is close to the truth, and Beis Hillel says you tell him which is somewhat not close to the truth. You say, Kala Noi with Kasudi. You tell her she's a wonderful, nice looking Kala that you have. Because why? Because this is his Kala and he thinks highly of her. So you're not supposed to burst his bubble, because he's involved with her. He's married her. Now they're husband and wife. So you say something, even if it may not be true. Maybe it's not so sincere. That's Beis.
Kala Noah.
That's right. That's Beis Hillel. That's Beis Hillel. Even if she's not, you go ahead and tell him that she is, because he thinks she is, right? And it's not a complete lie, because he thinks she is. And Beis Shammai says no. You should really not tell a lie under these circumstances, and you should say something which is closer to the truth. So it's likewise, you go to somebody's house, they give you some food you don't really appreciate, don't like, and maybe the cooking wasn't really very good at all. So what are you supposed to say to the hostess, right?
Nothing. You're supposed to eat it.
right? And you ask for seconds.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm serious. That's right.
That's right.
That's exactly right. When the hostess asks you, "Would you like some more?" you have to say yes.
Yes, you do.
Yep, you certainly do.
You say yes, right? Even if you don't like it so much, because that's just the way it is.
That's right. Can't be honest.
No, there's sometimes we say you can person for the sake of shalom, the person can lie in certain circumstances. In the case of shalom, we learn that out from by Avraham Avinu when the Malachim came by Sarah. But it was the change. You look there in the parsha, it'll explain to you why we are able to change sometimes for the sake of shalom. And, okay. Yeah, let's continue.
Okay, so Dehayinu min ha shefa ulachutz.
Right, Sefer. That's from the Safa L'chutz. It's from the lips and outwards, meaning it's not in your heart. It's only an external. You're only greeting him externally in a happy way, but it's not a sincere, wholehearted, friendly greeting.
Right, but this is what we should not do, right?
Right.
Ella yiyeh b'sever panim she'osa imo. Rather, it should be with a pleasant countenance that you act with him.
Right.
Mitefeshes b'chol oso adam. What is mitefeshes? Tefeshet?
Mispashet. We call also Adam. Bechitzoni soy upimini so. When Ella, he's explaining what it means, Sever Panim. Sever Panim means not, as he said, an external, superficial, friendly greeting. Rather, Ella, yes, Sever Panim should also imo hispashet bekol also Adam. The Sever Panim, the friendly greeting and the smiling countenance should be an expression of his whole being. It should his mispashet. It should be extended bekol also Adam throughout the whole person. But so his superficial, externally, upinimi also and internally.
So when we say externally and internally, we're talking about the person who's doing the smiling.
Right, right.
So we just got done with this whole thing about how it's okay to lie. That seems to contradict this sentence.
No, I'm explaining. No, I explained that what we're saying now is litchatchila. This is the way it should be ideally. But if you can't do it, then you still can do it for the sake of shalom, to do it insincerely.
I see. V'zeh domeh la'aseh torascha, and this is similarly to doing the Torah.
Right. You should make your Torah keva, fixed or constant.
Shetarich sheyeh piv ulevo shavim. That you're required that your mouth and your heart are equivalent.
Right. That when you're learning should be on the level that you're saying what you understand to be true in your heart. Likewise, in this case, ideally, when you're greeting people, you should be greeting people in a way that it's wholeheartedly and not superficially. But I want to just go back to the original statement. Havi mekabel es kol ha'adam.
B'simcha.
Right. So how do we fit this into the actual expression?
Can I add something? We learned that simcha does not necessarily mean joyful hopping around. It's more of a serene feeling.
Right.
It's more of a calm, serene feeling. So that certainly we can do for everybody. We don't have to clap everybody on the back and pump their hand and dance with them and all that, hug them and all that stuff. But you can be, serenely welcoming.
Right.
I mean, so I think the simcha also is important as part of that definition.
Yeah. Well,
It doesn't say Rena.
No, right. We didn't even get up to that. We didn't get up to that stage yet. Exactly what the point about the simcha is all about.
Right.
We're just trying to understand what you're supposed to do, and then we can now, after that, we can go to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
I think to answer your question, there's three things here that we should have. It starts off with the supervisor, the leader, then with either the young person or the elderly person, and then with everybody. So I think if you want to combine them together, it's saying that different types of people present different challenges. The leader requires you to be subservient. You need to understand that's part and parcel of the relationship that you have with the person who is either he's your supervisor at work, or he's your Rebbe, or he's your father, whatever. That you have to keep that in the back of your mind when in your interactions with that person. And then you have either the young person or the elderly person. They require certain special treatment because either they're inexperienced, impatient, or maybe if they're elderly, maybe they're cantankerous, or they have physical or medical problems or mental problems, whatever, that you have to be aware that in that relationship there's a need for a different kind of attitude, but similarly to the idea that you have a relationship with the leader, you have a relationship with this person, which requires you to go above and beyond. And then finally it says, well, actually with everybody, you have a relationship, and you have a requirement to keep in mind this idea that you have to try and have a besimcha, receive them with simcha. In other words, you have to try and do what you can to make the relationship a happy relationship.
Very good. Yeah, very good. We'll actually see the Maharal Prague is going to define three separate categories of the interactions that we have based on the people we're interacting with. And yeah, it's true. Meaning we have this last final statement. Very good, Lou. That's very good. This last final statement, we have that regardless of who and what the person you're interacting with right now, right? Your initial um, contact with the person should be based on receiving him in a joyous way, right? In a joyous way, like Barry mentioned, not that you're jumping up and down and for joy over seeing him, but that you're doing it in a very serene, um, satisfied, uh, pleasant way, that you're happy to be able to have the opportunity to interact with this person. Yeah, you have to do it in a sincere way. That it's an opportunity, whatever opportunity the person presents. I mean, each person presents a different opportunity for you to perfect yourself and to help to perfect them. There's no interaction in this world that we encounter that's not there for the purpose of helping us perfect ourselves. So that could be also a way of answering your earlier question, Lou. When you have a person that you're not exactly thrilled to encounter and to deal with, how are you supposed to fulfill this? So if you look at it as an opportunity to for you to reach your perfection in some way or another, right? We're all on the road of perfection, trying to perfect ourselves in many different ways as possible. So when you're faced with having to deal with somebody that is not so easy for you to deal with, that's an opportunity for you to try and progress and advance, which is something honestly to be happy about, right? So if you're not specifically happy about seeing him, but you can be happy about the opportunity that the Kadosh Baruch who's brought your way, that you can try now through this interaction, try and achieve some type of perfection in some way or another. And that's something to be very happy about. Okay, so I guess a good point and a time to stop. So let's continue this tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.
Thank you, Rabbi.
We'll take a little break, and